I believe that we each have unique soul gifts to share with the world. You know that you've been listening to this podcast for a while. And the women that I work with tell me that they think my soul gifts have been in supporting them to build awareness of what you really want out of your private practice and within your life, moving you towards your goals in a structured and confident manner, feeling more calm, in control and confident by thinking through how you'll focus your day, and supporting you to consistently receive referrals each week. When we work together, you will raise your awareness of how much energy you're putting into your practice. You will receive practical advice and steps that you can implement straight away, and you'll finally let go of the need to be constantly working hard in inverted commas, and you'll still see results. Plus, I'll teach you how to see opportunities for abundance for your practice and your life just about everywhere. If you're listening to this and it's landing for you, we're destined to meet. Tell me more about where you're at, and we can see together if my coaching program is going to be the right support for you right now. Book your call using the link in the show notes. I can't wait to connect with you. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Let's get on with the show. Welcome to the Private Practice with Soul podcast. My name is Dr. Brooklyn Storme, and I help private practice owners align their business back with their soul's calling, with their big vision and with their soul's purpose. Unlike other private practice coaches, I've traveled the world in search of spiritual resources, spiritual tools, education and information so that you can have the transformation that your soul desires and needs so that you can up-level your business. How much fun is this? I love it so much. Guys, if you're not already a member of the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group, please check out the show notes. I would love for you to be there. In the meantime, thank you so much for pushing play today. Let's begin. Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Thank you so much for pushing play on another episode today. And of course, welcome to all of the new subscribers. Do you know we're over 9,800 downloads now? And I'm so thankful and so appreciative of everybody who listens to the podcast. So again, just thank you so much. The other thing is there's some cool stuff happening with my groups at the moment that I just want to share with you in case you're not on Facebook, because I know not everybody is, and I don't want you to miss out on this. But I've introduced a new level of support for the groups. So this is happening in the Private Practice Membership Group. It's happening in the Free Group Australian Counsellors in Private Practice Online. And it's also happening in the class, in the Private Practice with Soul class of 2021. Introduce this whole new level of support that is just multi-layered. It allows us to get together and have real life conversations all together, totally off Facebook. It's not Clubhouse, so don't worry. I've got big issues with Clubhouse. It's a whole other podcast, I'm sure, but I just don't like the whole idea that you lose your content. I put too much time and effort in it to lose it. But this platform that we're using now in these groups allows us to have a space to come together as women and discuss things. So we'll be setting up some times where we can catch up. We've also got options there for video catch-ups as well, which is nice because it's a bit tricky to do that on Facebook, especially if not many people are on it these days. And it's different to Zoom, so we're not going to have to deal with all those Zoom issues either. So we've got that. Plus it's got regular chat, and I'm just so excited. So I just shared that with everybody yesterday, and I can't wait to welcome everybody into that platform. As I said, I just want to try and migrate people away from Facebook a little bit, because you never know. And hey, those of you who have been working with Medicare, do you remember just a few years ago, everybody was like, totally dependent on Medicare? And then when Medicare had all of those big changes, how did that affect everybody's business? For those women who were not having multiple streams of revenue or multiple streams of income, some practice owners ended up closing their business because they couldn't compete on the, two-tiered model and things like that. So I don't want you to have all your eggs in one basket, and I don't want to have all my eggs in one basket. So we've still got our groups on Facebook. That's fine. But this is just another layer of, as I said, multifaceted support for those of you who want it. So I think I've covered everybody's learning style now. We've got audio, video, and we've got the chat. So if you're in the groups, you can click that link and put in a join request. And yeah, I will see you in this other platform. And so exciting too, I've got something else that's really, really exciting. And do you know what? I haven't shared this with the women in the Private Practice with Soul class of 2021 yet. But if you're listening, hi. Special announcement for you. You're going to, on the 9th of February, I was going to say, on the 9th of April, on Friday, when your new content drops, you're also going to get a very special surprise, because I've created for you your very own private podcast, and it's going to include audio trainings and a whole lot of up-leveled content for you, and that will also be available. Oh no, that's just for you guys. And then there's another one there's another private podcast for my previous coaching clients and my current coaching clients. So 2 private podcasts coming out. If you want access to those, let me know and I can share with you how you do it. But basically they're bonuses for people who are already working with me in that, either the class of 2021 or as a private client. So yes, you've got so much new stuff. So although it is my flex week and it looks like I've been quiet on social media, can you see I've actually been working very hard behind the scenes for you? And I just want to say thank you very, very much. I had, again, so beautiful, about 4 emails from people who listen to the podcast this week. So I want to say thank you so much for sending those through. And the feedback was very much loving the information on the archetypes. So I thought I'd share with you today another way that you can use an archetype as a lens or to give some context to what might be going on for you in your private practice. And the archetype that I want to talk with you about today is a really relatable one for all of us, because it's the mother archetype. Now, the easiest way to think about an archetype is when Jung was creating archetypes, he believed that these archetypes were understandable throughout the world. They were common symbols, common metaphors, and that we just kind of intrinsically knew what they meant. So don't be put off when you hear the word mother archetype and think to yourself, well, what's that? Because, and I believe too, that you kind of already know what it is. I mean, even if you just think, well, what's a mother and what does a mother do and what are the qualities of a mum and, all of that sort of stuff, then you start to build your own picture of a mother archetype. But basically, when I come to think of it, I think a mother archetype really fits so well with the type of work that we're doing, because we're all healers. We're all either counseling, we're psychologists, social workers, coaches, Reiki practitioners, all of that sort of stuff. So we're already embodying, to some extent, the mother archetype energy. Okay. And so the mother archetype energy is about nurturing. It's about, well, when it's healthy, it's about nurturing. It's about feeling safe. It's about trust. It's about surrender. And it's about receiving, even if you go back to the very ancient texts, we understand that what's been depicted over time is the idea that a woman's role is to receive, and the man's role is to provide. That energy is to provide, whether you call it anima and animus or yin and yang or masculine and feminine, but it's the same type of thing. And so some of the other beautiful qualities of that really healthy mother archetype energy are, a willingness to be open to accepting things. Okay, now this is really important, because we're going to loop this back to what it means for you in your private practice, of course, but being open to accepting things and open to receiving. Okay. And that means everything, because the energy that you put in one space is likely going to show up as the energy that you have in another space. Kind of like water, you can't hold water. It's always going to, dribble out, leak out, drip out, and it's going to go all over the place. It's the same with that energy. Energy doesn't have a beginning and an end. It just is. It's fluid. It's always moving, just like, that example of water. And so some of the other things that are really prominent with this beautiful mother archetype energy include an ability to nurture other people, which of course we do every single day, don't we? Whether you're working directly with clients or whether you're at home writing up their NDIS reports, but you're always in that space of nurturing, of looking after, of caring for, of holding that person, of helping them feel safe. You're always in that space, aren't you, of being able to honor their body, mind, and spirit and help them honor that for themselves too, okay? And something else that I really love about this healthy embodiment of the mother archetype energy is this real beautiful connection with nature. And you see this in my work. We just had a flash sale there for Moonworks. Thank you to everybody who bought it. I hope you're going to love it. So I absolutely love working in with the rhythms and the cycles of nature, which was why I wrote Moonworks. I believe that one of the best things for me about working with the rhythm of the moon phases is that it really kind of gives you permission to be in the masculine and then in the feminine, then in the masculine and then in the feminine. And not only does it give you that permission, but it gives you the experience of being. Today I'm here, tomorrow I'm there. Today I'm here, tomorrow I'm there. And when you have that experience of balance, you don't want to let it go. And so most people who, say, for example, use the Moonworks approach will do it for a couple of months, and then they'll kind of drop off because it becomes routine and they get in the habit of it and they don't give it that attention anymore. But then eventually something will go a little bit pear-shaped and they'll return back to Moonworks. And so that's something really beautiful that I love so much. When you work with nature, there isn't a beginning and an end. So there's no right time to start. There's no, this is the final destination. And nature's always changing, always moving, just like that beautiful mother energy. We call it sacred, divine, feminine energy as well. So it's always moving. We see this in the seasons too, don't we? We go through summer, autumn, winter, spring, change. We go through change with all the moon phases. There's 8 of those, and there's more than 12 in a year. There's so much. The world is always turning, the earth is always turning. So little things like that, little notifications that change is safe and change is okay and nothing stays the same forever. What we know, in fact, is that change, it's predictable that things are always going to be changing. And when you're in that mother archetype energy or that sacred divine feminine energy, you're okay with that. You embrace that. You love it, right? Remember that masculine energy is wanting everything to be the same. And you don't want that for your private practice. You want things to be changing in your private practice, because I'm just going to go out on a limb here, but I think you probably always want to be improving, because that would mean that you can show up in more impactful ways for your clients. So we don't want to be all the time in that dominant masculine energy, but it seems to be where some of us hang out a lot. And I'm going to give you a story about it in a minute. The flip side of that beautiful embodiment of the healthy mother archetype energy is being in the shadow energy. And that is when it's kind of the opposite. We're just flipping that card over. And this is when we see that somebody isn't looking after herself. And maybe that's manifesting, when you're in the healthy mother archetype energy, you're co-creating. You're co-creating with the universe. You're co-creating with energy, with spirit source, Mother Gaia, whatever you want to call it. You're co-creating. You're not just leaving everything to chance. You're being very intentional about what you want to call in. Okay. Women are creators. But when you're in that when you're in the unhealthy feminine energy, or you're in that shadow mother archetype energy, it's kind of the opposite. All right. So you're not consciously manifesting. In fact, what's happening is the things that are manifesting are more of the things you don't want to be seeing. So in your private practice, that might be more cancellations, it might be less referrals, less bookings, all those sorts of things. And also, it's around not looking after yourself. So if you're not looking after yourself, that's going to have a really big impact on how you show up in your practice. If you're not getting enough sleep and maybe you're feeling moody in the morning, how's that going to manifest when you go to work? Are you going to be short-tempered with your team? Are you going to be a little bit terse with your emails? Are you going to have less patience with your clients? Are you going to be as present in a client meeting if you haven't had the sleep that you need and you're in a grumpy mood? Probably not. And so that's going to impact the energy of the room, and that's going to impact the outcome of that session. No matter how much you try and put yourself in the masculine energy, you've always got that feminine energy there. Also by not tuning into your mind, not looking after your mind. So if your mind is constantly racing and you're getting ahead of yourself and there's always something for you to worry about, that's not healthy mother archetype energy. Okay, that's shadow, because it's not present. The mother archetype energy is always present in the moment, the fullest embodiment of what's going on right now. For example, right now I am loving recording this podcast for you. I have to go for a walk later on. I have to go to the post office box. I have to pay some bills, but I'm not thinking about that. Right now, I'm present in this moment with you. I've got no other tabs open on my computer. It's just myself and GarageBand recording this for you, totally and fully present. But could you imagine what this podcast would be like if I was very distracted? Okay, it wouldn't be the same sort of podcast. I wouldn't have the lilt in my voice. I wouldn't be laughing with you. I wouldn't be sharing. I wouldn't be open. I wouldn't be coming from a place of care and compassion. So that's just an example there. And I think too, when you're in that wounded energy, you're not accepting of things. And don't confuse this with receiving. There's a difference. The way I see it is you're not accepting. So maybe somebody's giving you some feedback and you just don't want to hear it, or you're dismissing it, or you're not taking it on board. You're just putting up that wall. That's the unhealthy feminine energy. When you're not receiving because you're not in the space of acknowledging the good things that are already coming through, and you're not receiving because you're not in the business of co-creating. You've kind of gotten off track and you're getting caught up in the busyness, in that masculine energy. You're getting caught up in the busyness, and so you're doing a lot, but you're not actually seeing results. That's a sign that you're probably sitting in that unhealthy shadow mother archetype energy. Okay. And then, I was going to say here that you're not consciously creating with the universe. You're not. You're just you don't even have time for that. You're just so caught up in how things aren't working out for you, or you're so caught up in where the next applicant is going to come from for your job and things like that. So we're starting to dip the energy a bit. And that's obviously a problem for private practice. So let me share with you, if I can, just quickly give you an example from my practice. And this is an example that pops up for me from time to time. So I'm going to share it because I think maybe it might pop up for some of you from time to time as well. And I don't want you to think you're alone. So one of the things that happens for me is, and this all happens without you being aware of it, by the way. You're not aware of it when it's happening until usually someone points it out, or you're journaling. In my case, I love journaling, and you reflect upon it. But okay, here's the thing. Sometimes I'll be working in my business and I'll have this great idea about something, and I will share that idea and I'll promote it, and I'll think to myself, why isn't this happening? Why isn't anybody signing up? Why isn't anyone joining? Where are all the clients? What's going on here? And I get this real sense of impatience. So one of the things I have done for myself in the past is when I was first learning about how to do launches for programs, okay, I did a course, and in that course they were teaching you about launching. Now, I didn't know anything about launching, so I was blindly following all of the steps that this teacher was sharing, and I thought that my launch was going to be amazing because I was doing all the right things and ticking them off as this teacher was teaching me. However, the launch was a big flop, and I was panicking. I was really impatient the whole time. I was thinking, how come no one's engaging? How come no one's sending through an inquiry? Why isn't anybody booking, buying, purchasing, whatever it is you want to call it? And I got really worked up over it, really tense, really stressed. And it got to the point where that was my dominant vibe. Like, my dominant vibe was to come into the study, jump on the computer, and just kind of, reinforce the fact for myself by looking at the numbers that nothing was happening. And then that created a loop in my mind that I mustn't be very good, and my audience just don't like programs, and I'm not very good at sales. And so I started this whole downward spiral with my energy, and I got down on myself. There were other inquiries for other programs and services coming through, but I wasn't really giving them much love because my focus was on getting this launch off the ground, and why wasn't this happening? And so as email inquiries were coming through for things like coaching and supervision and mentoring, I was just kind of, I'll get back to you in 3 weeks. Or, not even that. Sometimes I was just saying, look, I'm not accepting applications at the moment. And so I was kind of knocking work back because I was so tunnel visioned on getting this launch organized and set up and being effective. And what happened as a result of my focus on that was, and my tunnel vision was, I started to have affected sleep because I was going to bed thinking, oh my gosh, what am I doing wrong? I'll wake up in the morning and kind of dread getting up in a grumpy mood. Before I even went and get coffee, I would turn on the computer and look to see if there'd been any inquiries or purchases. And when they hadn't, that would just reinforce this loop I was starting to create, that I wasn't worth it, or that I wasn't good enough, or other people are good at this and I'm not, and that's not fair, and why can't I do it? So then from there, I guess I just stopped looking after myself because I just then became, what's the word for it? I was just putting all of my focus on that. So I was like, I'm not going to go for a walk today. I need to be in front of this computer working. I'm not going to go out with my friends tomorrow. I'm just going to be in front of this computer working until I get that sale or that purchase or that enrollment or whatever it was I was working on. Just giving you an example. So anyway, can you see how being in that energy obviously wasn't very helpful for me? I was in that shadow energy, but I got out of it. And the way that I got out of it was by being aware I was in it. And how did I do that? Because as I said to you before, like, you're not always aware when you're in it. Sometimes you need somebody else to point it out to you. But for me, it's through journaling. So I have a series of journal prompts that I really love to use. But sometimes when I'm in my shadow space, that all goes out the window. I don't want to light my incense. I don't want to do gratitude work. I don't want to listen to dance music. I just want to be in my little, hole with my personal thundercloud and my little personal rain cloud just raining down on me for a few days. It's where I want to be. So I had some quiet time because, obviously not in great energy. I had some quiet time one night, and then I thought maybe I should just journal this through, because you know how sometimes you just get to the point where you think something's got to change. How have I changed it before? And then you go back to those things that worked for you in the past. So that's what I did. I pulled out my old journal prompts, which I had to rummage around in, sets of drawers to find, because I didn't think I was going to need them again. Here's a tip: print them off and keep them somewhere safe, because you will need them again. And it was by working through those prompts that I was able to appreciate that I'd gotten myself into a bit of a pickle energetically, but I was also able to develop some insight. And with that insight, I was then able to shift out of it and back into that healthy energy. And some of the things that I did was I really... after doing the journaling, I really realized that I've been super hard on myself, number one, and that I hadn't been taking care of myself or loving myself. But that's something that in the past I used to really struggle with. So a new way that I try and approach it when I'm stuck with looking after myself or caring for myself is when I was studying shamanic healing. One of the things that we learned about was like a shamanic approach to inner child work. Now, I had not done inner child work before. I knew nothing about it. I think in psychology, maybe I had definitely heard of it, but it never had been something I'd taken seriously, because I'd been conditioned to think it's not evidence-based, so leave it alone. You're only allowed to do evidence-based stuff. So I never really explored it. So it was a requirement of my qualification in shamanic healing that I learn about it. And I'm really pleased that I did, because it's given me a whole other way of connecting in with that heart space energy that we speak about on the podcast. And I really value it now, and I find it very, very powerful. But that was one of the things that I did. I had to learn how to go within and find that innocence and be able to hold that innocent energy and embrace that innocent energy and really care for it like you would a child. For those of you who are mums, just like you would for your child, it's finding a way to do that for yourself. And then from there, I felt stronger. Because I wasn't then looking to the external for validation or verification that I was okay and my program was okay. I kind of realized then that, I had been putting a lot of my worth onto the results of that launch. So that really helped doing that inner work there. And then what also helped me a lot was really learning again how to tune into my body when things were going on. And that's something that I'm still learning how to do. I'm in a couple of groups for like spiritual leaders and stuff like that. And it's so interesting to be with them, because these women will often talk about how they felt it in their body. And I'm still learning how to do that. I don't know. I'm hoping one day I could be one of those people. But at the moment, I tend to just feel everything either in my heart or my belly. I don't tend to feel anything really anywhere else, but I'm open to it. But that was part of the journey. And then the other part of the journey was really acknowledging the things that I am receiving and reminding myself that receiving energy is receiving energy. Whether or not I'm receiving enrollments or sales or purchases or inquiries or emails or bookings, it's all the same energy. And so by me deflecting or dismissing or being disappointed that I was getting inquiries and bookings for other things instead of the thing I was focusing on, I was actually giving out a vibe to the universe that I didn't want to receive anymore. And so that's what started to happen. I started to notice things were dropping back, things were dropping off. And again, that became a feedback loop for me. So by remembering that energy is energy and it doesn't have a beginning or an end, and receiving is receiving no matter what you're receiving, I was then able to think to myself, okay, what can I do to honor this receiving energy and really embrace it? And so what I did was I just had a scrap piece of paper, and I just went back through my emails for the last 30 days, and I went back through my PayPal and my Stripe and my bank account for the last 30 days. And what I did was I just wrote like a little letter at the top of this piece of paper that was just saying thank you to all of these people for being in my space and for giving me their energy, for sending me an email, for making a payment, for making an inquiry. And so I just wrote out all of their names, and I was like, dear Donna, thank you so much for your email inquiry on, the 1st of November. Dear Haley, thank you so much for your payment for Moonworks on the 2nd of November. I appreciate you so much. And of course, nobody ever sees this, but it's a way that I can get back into that energy of appreciation. And that's the highest vibe that you can have. Love and appreciation are the two highest vibrations that you can have. So if you're struggling, maybe doing an activity like that would really help you as well. The other thing that I became aware of when I did the inner work and realized I was in my shadow space with the Mother Archetype energy was, what was I just going to say? I realized that I was just focused on doing all of the stuff, and I was watching the pot, and, it wasn't boiling. And it was fear mindset and scarcity mindset that was keeping me in front of the computer. And so I knew that to shift into the healthy energy, that then I would be able to receive. And so instead of sitting and waiting and sitting and watching and sitting and working, I knew I had to get moving, which means get up from the computer and go and do something. And so what I started to do was, when the weather was good, I would put on my active wear. I think I mentioned it last episode. Put on the active wear and take myself off for a walk. And there's this beautiful waterfront down near me that I just love, 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 love. And I get 7,700 steps. It buys me 105 calories, which I can spend on a yogurt for dessert each night. But when I am physically moving, like walking, a couple of things happen. Number one, I shift the energy. Number two, I become more present because I'm focused on the world around me outside. Of course, you have to have a level of awareness. Number three, I can listen to music, which puts me in a really, really good mood, especially if I can walk in time to the music. Plus, I get to see different things with my eyes, obviously, like I get to walk past. So to get down to the park near me, I've got to walk down, it's called High Street, but it's not a long street at all, and there's not that many shops on it really, but it's always nice to look at the changing windows and things like that. And on the way back, I can stop off and I could get myself some fruit and yogurt, and I can also, like, if I want to, take a bit of a detour and go and have a look in, well, we don't have many shops down here because it's a little country town, but we do have a Kmart, so I can pop into Kmart and have a little look around there and just touch things and smell the candles and look at new things and, say, oh, that's pretty, or things like that. It's just something not work related. And usually what will happen is by the time I get home, I've got another inquiry or I've got a PayPal notification or two that something's come through. And so what I've started to do now is take screenshots of that, or even keep a little, list on my computer of all the things that I receive when I'm not in front of the computer. And that's becoming my evidence that makes it feel safe for me to go and be in that feminine energy space. And then the other thing that you can do, and that this helps me as well, is to just be in nature. And my favorite way of doing this is really just bare feet on the grass in the backyard. But if you can't do that, then even just standing outside and allowing yourself to experience the caress of the wind or the feeling of the warmth of the sun on your back. I mean, or listen to the birds. It's just so nice to allow yourself some fresh air and to take a few deep breaths. So what happened to my practice as a result of, number one, being in that wounded energy. Number two, raising my awareness to what was going on. Number three, being able to address it and give myself love and nurturing and compassion, was that I started to receive more into the practice. I started to get back into that conscious co-creation, and I did that by being more focused. The way that I've been more focused is by using an alignment template that I made up. The women in the private practice with Soul group all have access to that. They love it too, the ones who did it. So it's really by bringing my awareness back to what am I focusing on rather than what are all the things I feel I've got to do. And then all the beautiful things started coming. I got ideal clients, my program filled up. I got requests to speak in groups. I got requests to be on other people's podcasts. My income went up very quickly in the space of about 3 weeks. So I just am sharing this with you so that you can see I'm not just here talking with you about an archetype. I'm applying it to how this looks in your private practice for those of you who are wanting another approach, another framework to, being the best expression of yourself and your purpose and your soul's work. And you can absolutely do it. And there's always going to be journeys because you're always learning. Your conscious awareness is always expanding. Okay. Every day you learn a lesson. I'm sure if we had a challenge where you got to write down a lesson you learned today, you could write one. You could probably write 2 or 3 lessons that you learn every day. So you're constantly expanding. So there's always going to be lessons. And the other thing too is, I notice with the women that I work with sort of, in the one-to-one space, when they start to make progress in the direction of where they're wanting to go, sometimes that can bring up all their old stuff, and so we have to put a hold on what we're doing for the business and deal with some of that old stuff, those old beliefs, the old stories, the old vulnerabilities and things like that. So having a private practice that works for you, that helps you feel like you're really embodying your purpose, that you love what you're doing, that you're being impactful, that you're sharing your message in a way that feels good to share, but also feels really, really good because it's landing for your ideal clients, is understanding that it's okay to be on this journey. It's not going to happen in a straight line. There are going to be ups and downs, and you can get through it. And this here is the framework for how you get through it. You're going to notice resistance within yourself, either physically, energetically, or emotionally, and that's your first clue that there's some inner work that needs to be done. That's the first clue. Then you're going to explore what's going on for you. You can do that through journaling, meditation, coaching, mentoring, maybe even your supervision if that's what you're working through at the moment. And then you're going to look at implementation so that you can shift the energy, and then you're going to start seeing results in the practice. So they're kind of the 4 steps to how you embody this beautiful mother archetype energy so that you can experience deeper success in your practice in the way that you describe success. Does that make sense? So unlike other private practice coaches that are going to give you, here's 20 policies and here's 20 procedures and here's how you do it, I want to show you you're more than your policies and procedures. You're more than the mechanical stuff. That stuff works, yes, but it's not going to work if the inner work isn't done, okay? And it's safe for you to do the inner work. You just need somebody to support you and guide you on that, who's been there herself, who knows what it's like and can take you by the hand and walk with you shoulder to shoulder as you go through this process. But there's the framework. You've got some steps. You can see now how this energy impacts your practice. And I hope this has been a really helpful and powerful and, of course, special episode for you. I will see you again on Saturday. Thank you so much for listening to another episode. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Private Practice with Soul podcast today. If you're looking for clarity, if you need help with branding, your processes, and bringing everything into alignment with your soul's purpose for your private practice, head to the show notes and click the link for more information about the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group. You are going to love it. I can't wait to see you in there. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.